Kate, so happy to have you. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Honestly, not even tired. Like, there's just so much energy here, and all this
Right?
are so awesome. If you guys are resonating with how it's been going so far, please feel free to share in the chat. But I'd love to give you a proper introduction. So, guys, this is going to be an awesome talk. I'm super excited for this. So, Kate Smith is our title or topic of the chat is like, okay, getting a remote job online. So, Kate's a career coach, a remote job career coach, and she's an industry thought leader. She's helped a whole bunch of professionals break free of the 9 to 5. I can attest, I hated the 9 to 5 life. And so I left to go live in Spain. So I think a lot of people will resonate with this. And the whole reason why you're doing this is to like create more freedom in their lives. And you've been doing this work and traveling since 2015. And her expertise has actually been featured on BBC, Fast Company, CNN, GlassDoor, and many other publications and podcasts. Another cool fact, which I can't leave this out, is that Kate was named on the top 50 most influential remote experts. And she's consistently invited to all the top interviews and keynotes in the remote work movement. The other really cool thing, and I know a lot of you want to get the digital nomad visa, Kate literally worked with Estonia to create the world's first digital nomad visa. So if you guys have any questions about like Estonia, digital nomad visas, or that possible option, like let's go there a little bit. But okay, Kate, tell us a little bit more about where you're at and like what your life looks like and also how you're helping people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for the intro. That was a lovely intro. And I thank you, everybody, for being here and sharing your time with me today. So, yeah, do you want me to start with my story or
Yeah, that would be
how
awesome.
I got to how I got here?
Tell us how
Um, Yeah, and I'll elaborate more as well on the digital nomad visa and my involvement in that too. So my name's Kate. I'm a remote career coach. So I teach people how to land remote jobs, but really my goal is to support people in creating more freedom. One of my top values is freedom. And when I landed my remote job years ago, it changed my life, the trajectory of my life. And I ended up living a lifestyle that I would have only dreamed of achieving by maybe like 80 years old. So I'm really excited to, just share more about that with everybody today. So, I mean, just the quick story, I guess you could say is, I started working remote in 2015. Now, prior to that, I had a 9 to 5 office job. It was exhausting, commuting to
about
work, working overtime. And I remember thinking like this can't be the rest of my life. There's no way. And so I started saving up to quit my job and I knew that I wanted three things: not to sit at a cubicle all day, I wanted to travel, and I wanted to make money. And so that was a tall order, especially 8 years ago when this whole remote work was not a thing. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try to figure this out. Now, about a month before my quit date, I actually got laid off. And so for me, it was actually such a blessing. I thought, okay, universe is like, let's do this, let's go. And then I came across this concept of remote work through a program called Remote Year. So, Remote Year takes a bunch of people who already work remotely and they take them to a new country every month for an entire year. So, I signed up to join the program, put all of my savings, practically all of my savings at that time is about 5 grand to join the program, booked a one-way ticket to Prague. Now, the only problem was I didn't have a remote job. So, I needed to figure that out. And so, as I was going through this journey, trying to figure out how to land a remote job, I'm the type of person where if I give my all, things work out, right? I just give 100%, it will happen. That was not the case with remote work. I remember thinking, like, where am I going wrong? What is like, how is this not working? And I remember there being a point where it was like I had enough money to last 1 month on remote year. So I got on the flight, still didn't have a remote job. I was like, I got 1 month to figure this out because like money is running out. I even remember in my carry-on, I packed a bunch of food because I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen here. And I even remember at one point my laptop dying and just being in the grocery store crying, thinking like, this is my lifeline to work online. And that was a huge turning point for me because I had a decision to make, like go back to Canada, figure this out at another point in time. And I remember thinking there, and maybe some people can relate to this, just having these big turning point moments, right? And where it changes the trajectory of your life. And I remember thinking like, no, I refuse to give up. this isn't a matter of if it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And I have to keep trying. I know I'm a hard worker. I have to keep trying. Now I put the laptop on my credit card. So anyways, now I did land the remote job in the nick of time. I think I had 2 weeks left, landed a remote job. And then I spent the year working online, traveling the world, went to a new country every month. And ever since then, I would say with that, life is like amazing. Life is amazing. The freedom and the flexibility, the places I've been able to travel, the people I've been able to meet, it's incredible. And for me, I want to share that with more people. I want people to experience that. The goal is to help people experience more life. Really, that's what it is in the work I do. How they get there is through a remote job, but the goal and the purpose is to just help people live more free lives, more fulfilling lives. And so I landed a remote job in marketing, doing online marketing. I never intended to become a remote career coach. But people kept reaching out to me being like, Kate, this is so cool. I want to do this. I want to work online and travel the world. And I would always try to get on these calls for like an hour to explain how to land a remote job. And it was never enough time. And then eventually it turned into this. I thought, okay, maybe I could build something from this. And it started as a side gig, the remote career coaching. And then eventually I transitioned out of my remote job. And then I've been doing this for years now, teaching people how to land remote jobs.
Wow, I love this. And thank you so much for sharing your story. Where did you go first? So, can we talk about, on our first call, you were saying, you got laid off and then you don't know what you're going to do. Where were you? So, you were in Prague first. So, you went on remote year and you were in Prague first.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to like figure out the whole remote work thing?
It took a while. So before remote year, months, so I had put my deposit down in remote year months before I even left. And so
Okay.
all those months leading up to it, I was trying to figure out how to land a remote job. Now, mind you, when I got laid off, there's a period of time where I thought, I have no idea what I want to do. Like at that time, I thought I can teach English abroad or I can become a travel blogger. And I thought, I'm not a writer. There's no way I can become a travel blogger. And ironically enough, it's the blog that helps me like build this whole business and everything.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show too that people think they need all these credentials and certifications and all of this. And I was just writing about my experience. I wasn't a professional blogger or writer in any way. And I was just sharing about my journey. Sorry, I've got a little lost on that. Where
Oh,
was I
that's
going with
okay.
this? Oh, where I started. We
Yeah.
started
And
from
how
Prague.
you got your first, like how long it took for you to figure it out.
Oh, right. So yeah,
Um,
so at
yeah.
first I got laid off, didn't know what I was going to do, trying to figure out, okay, I took my TEFL to teach English abroad and I thought, okay, maybe I'll do that.
Okay.
That's the only way I can make money and travel. I thought, okay, that's my only
That's like
option.
the only way, right?
Right. And then that's when I came across remote year. I think I was on Facebook and an article came out like this program's going to like bring people around the world. I had no idea what the program was. I didn't know if it was a job or a program. I was just like, okay, this seems like my ticket in, like sign me up. I'm in. And then so yeah, it probably by the time 5 months, maybe more. And it was a painful learning curve. And so again, with the work I do now, I get that it's a lonely process. It can be overwhelming, not really knowing what to do, how it applies to you. And I learned the hard, difficult, painful way. And so I created my coaching to make it easier. Like at the end of the day, I'm not going to lie, like writing a resume isn't the highlight of anybody's life, but the outcome that creates for you, the remote job and the freedom, that's worth it. Right. And so I try to make that as easy and seamless as possible for people.
Awesome. And how many of you guys like are looking for a remote job? I know that's like a main thing for people, that just to bring you up to speed, Kate, like from the summit, some people are looking, and some of the other chats have been like, well, or the comments have been like, well, how do I get my remote, like my company that I'm currently work with remote, like allow me to even apply for the digital nomad visas? What would you recommend for those people that like maybe already have the remote job, and how do you get the companies to allow you to go do that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to that. That's not where I offer support for clients. I'm best
Yeah.
suited to help people land remote jobs.
Okay.
I mean, I think the biggest thing is recognizing you have options, right? So
Yeah.
maybe you present this idea, hey, boss, can I work remotely, right? And if it's a no-go, then maybe it's okay, well, maybe I pursue a remote job. Just always recognizing that there are options. I think people have this mindset of just it's a 9 to 5 and that's it. And we can believe that that's all there really is out there, because if we're surrounded by it, and society makes us believe like, well, who are you to think you can get a remote job? And I'm here to tell you, I've supported a ton of people, and you probably are more talented and able to get a remote job than you believe. But yeah, I would say, focus on the value that it would bring to the employer, the value it would bring to you. But in terms of, yeah, how I can be of most support, it's landing the remote job.
Yeah.
But I think just recognizing you have options.
Okay, good. Awesome. Because I know you were working with the Estonia digital nomad visa. If we could chat about that for a little bit. What did you support them with? That's so cool and interesting. And that was the
Yeah.
first one that was ever created?
Yeah, yeah, that was really, really cool to be a part of that. So I got an email from them saying like, "Hey, we're creating this visa," and I thought, "Okay, is this like a real thing? Like, what's going on?" Right? I thought, "Okay, whatever. Like, what do I have to lose? Sure, like I'll help out." And so they had a team from all different backgrounds. So they had immigration, people from representatives from Estonia, and they needed representatives of digital nomads, right? People living that lifestyle and really figuring out, okay, well, what is the definition of a digital nomad, right? And it gets, when you're getting to the legalities of it, like it gets very complicated, right? Like, how is it different from a business owner? How is that different from a freelancer? And then we had to work it in a way where people wouldn't use it as a loophole for access and all of that. So I remember at the time I was in Bali, we jumped on this call. It was like late at night, I think, in Bali, and just all got together and we are hashing it out. It was a long process. And then yeah, it finally came out, and I think it's really cool because it just shows that remote work isn't going anywhere. Governments are embracing this, and they're not going to put in all these laws and regulations and digital nomad visas that are now all over the world, if they see it going anywhere. So yeah, it was really cool and exciting to support with that.
That is so awesome. And like from your experience from the Estonia like digital nomad visa, do you know if they require if you have to have a supportive letter like from the company that you are remote working from that allows you to go and do that in Estonia?
I'm not sure of the details. You could go online and it would
Yeah.
break it all down for you. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, got it. Cool. And then so tell me a little bit more about like what is it like working with you? So basically, okay, I know I want to do something remote. I have skills. I don't know what they are. Uh, I've heard about this marketing thing. I've heard about, maybe I could be an assistant. Like, what do you really suggest for people? What where they if they don't know what they really want? And then how do you like guide people through that typically?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm just going to make a note here so I don't forget what I'm going to speak about here.
Yeah. So like
Um,
guiding, like what do you normally do for the guidance?
Yeah. So I'll give you a quick little summary of what I take everyone through. And actually, my free gift today is a playbook that goes through this in more detail. So I'll give you like the top line, and you can download the free playbook. It goes more in depth. Now, a little, I guess, spoiler here, not spoiler, but just upcoming. You can download the playbook now. They're in about 2 weeks, along with the playbook. I'm going to be releasing a free on demand training as well. So that's coming soon. So if you download the playbook, you'll get on the email list. So when the training comes out, where we'll go really deep into all of these different areas and these steps, um, you can have access to that.
Awesome.
But really, so the first part is the most where most people get stuck, right? Like, what can I do? What is this job? So one of the first things we go through is getting clear on your career path. Like, what is that career path for you? Now, I would say about half the people I support maintain the same career path, and half of them are making a career change, even while making that change from 9 to 5 to remote. So I just want to share with everybody that it is possible to not only make a career change, not only to go remote, but to make a career change at the same time. So
Nice.
one of the first things, and we get clear on like, what do you want? It's not just about a remote job. We want a remote job you enjoy, right? So we dive into career path, understanding what that looks like. And the reason this is so important is that if you're trying to pursue a mistake that I see a lot of people make is they're like, yeah, I'll take anything. Like, I'm going to do this and this and this, right? But what happens is that dilutes your value. So if you imagine on LinkedIn, you're like, I do this and this and this, and they're kind of like, well, like, can we really see your value here? We need someone in marketing, and you do like 20 different things in all these different areas. So you want your messaging to be really honed in and clear. And so career path clarity is one of the first things. We also dive into how to identify those right fit opportunities, right? So if you're in a different country, what type of remote roles can you get? There's all these different types of remote. There's remote US companies where they only hire in the US, remote US companies that hire globally. So we dive into all of that, get really clear on how to identify those right fit opportunities. We dive into how to create high value visibility, which is how to effectively communicate your value in a way that appeals to remote employers. We dive into what I call creating a remote relationship web. So, this is really about networking. So many people think that landing a remote job is find a job online, apply, cross your fingers, hope you get an interview. And this is a really traditional old method to landing a job and a remote job. And so, we have to consider other factors as well. And one of those is networking and building a network to support you in landing a remote job. So we go through how to do
Awesome.
that in an authentic way. And then we have what I call the unicorn application. And this is really unique, creative ways of how to stand out when applying to a remote job. And this works really well for clients. Typically, within that first two applications, they're getting a job interview just by using that. And that includes salary negotiation, interview prep, all of that. But the unicorn application is really that third element there to help candidates stand out. So it's not just like finding a job and sending off applications. There's a whole integrated approach that needs to work together to increase your chances of success.
Oh my gosh, I love this. And it sounds so awesome. Like I don't know who wouldn't want to work with you to get a remote job because it's not like it's not easy. I mean, we see all the job postings, but it's getting more saturated. And like if you're not standing out, how are you going to get the job? And then plus we're adding the extra layer, which is you want to be able to work abroad. So maybe getting creative with, okay, who are we having you network with, right? And do you work with people that also want to do this, like live the life that you're living, which is,
Mm.
I know you're planning on going, what is it, in 3 or 4 months, you're going to do a world trip around the
Well,
world?
I'm gonna do Ireland and Scotland for a
Okay.
vacation. And then yeah, I don't know where I'm gonna go. I'm still trying to decide. I'm like, do I go to Mexico? Do I, I don't know where I'll go. But that's the beauty, right? As I don't have to know because I can just take my job with me whenever. So that's kind of like with this digital nomad lifestyle. I guess going back to your question is that everybody does this for different reasons, right? I have clients that come to me and they're like, well, I just worked remote during COVID. Why am I going to keep commuting? Some people, it could be health reasons. Some people, it could be they have kids. Some people, they want to travel the world, right? That flexibility, the beauty of remote work is like you determine what that looks like for you. What do you want to do with that flexibility? However, it can help you live a fuller life. For me, I'm passionate about travel, experiencing different cultures. That's what fills me up. And for others, it could just simply be more time with family and loved ones, right? And so that can look different for everybody. And I mean, feel free to share in the chat what that looks like for you, like what that freedom and flexibility means for you. But it can be so different and unique to everybody.
Wow, so true. So, do you work with people that want to go live abroad and do this digital nomad lifestyle?
Some people, yeah, some people want to do that. Now, I don't support in terms of logistics of like, here's where you're going to go. I just support with the landing the remote job part.
Cool.
Obviously, I have that personal lived experience of living abroad and traveling. Um, but yeah, in terms of where I most support, it's in helping them land a remote job.
Awesome. And so basically you would like narrow down criteria to like find the job that might be open to them doing the abroad life.
Right. So yeah, it's unique to each person, right? So if somebody's wanting to go remote, we would be looking at, okay, so we need to make sure when we're identifying those right fit opportunities that, for example, it's a company that would allow you to that flexibility to travel while you're working remotely. Some companies, as people may have noticed, it could be, yeah, we're remote, but you have to be based in a certain state or you have to be based in America. So those are factors that we consider depending on the person. Yeah.
Okay, cool. This is amazing because this is a big bottleneck. Like, I don't, for those of you, how many have been applying for remote jobs and it hasn't been working? If you can put me in the chat. I know it's just a really, it's hard. You don't know, there's certain job boards. Some of them are going to be more thorough than others, whether or not there's living, if they will allow you to leave the country or, and all of that. So I mean, it is a big hurdle. You're going to have to, it's not just applying. And I think the whole thing you're saying about networking is so great because you can come up with creative solutions. Okay, maybe you reach out to an agency, but from the research that you did, you find out that he's also a nomad. So he's probably more willing to hire because he's currently doing that. So I think that networking piece is so huge. And what would you give for like tips for people that are applying right now? They're kind of running into roadblocks in terms of like the networking piece.
In terms of networking specifically,
Yeah.
I would say a lot of people, and can let me know in the chat, like what word comes up when you think of networking, like the feeling or word when you think of networking. For most people, it's not great. It's like this ick feeling. And so with networking, one of the mindset shifts that you can take or perspective shifts that you can take is considering, sorry, I'm just looking at the chat here, making sure I don't miss anything here. One of the things you can consider is just getting curious about people, right? First of all, you want to be intentional. If you're going to connect with a bunch of people working in the 9 to 5 office jobs, you're not going to get anywhere. So you need to be intentional with who you're connecting with. Second thing I would say is just get curious about people. Don't think of it like I'm trying to connect with this person so I can get a remote job, but rather look at it as, okay, let me ask questions like what excites this person? What are they passionate about? Just get to know them. And the third tip I would say is lead with value. So similar to Camila, I think was talking about this, right? Like be friends with your neighbors before you need something. And it's the same with networking is that you want to lead with value and get creative. Like, what does that look like? Is it engaging on someone's post? Is it connecting them to somebody? Is it saying like, hey, I saw you, have a book and I bought it. When I was trying to connect with one of my mentors, I bulk ordered a bunch of his books when he was in the middle of a book launch. And obviously that catches his attention.
Right.
So sometimes it's getting creative, but just leading with value, getting curious about people, and you really can't go wrong with that. And I would say just be proactive, right? This is something you should be doing before you even need a job so that by the time you're like, hey, network, I need your support, you're already in a good position.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for shedding light. I hope you guys are getting tons of juicy info. This is great because I know this is a really big hurdle. Rebecca says it's hard to get an interview. So, what are possible reasons why that's not working out for her and for others that are also having a hard time getting an interview?
Yeah. So I would say there could be a few things. It could be your messaging. Are you positioning how you're positioning yourself, right? It could be the types of roles. Are they the right fit roles and opportunities for you? Are you just submitting your application and that's it? Because again, there's the whole networking side, going above and beyond to stand out. There's all those other pieces. And I would recommend even downloading the free playbook because that's going to take you through all of the elements. Oftentimes, I think that where people go wrong is they're missing some of those elements in that process. And another, I guess, where people could go wrong is not getting clear on that on their career path, right? So again, their messaging gets diluted when they're trying to just apply to anything that's remote. You want to get really specific so that all your messaging is really aligned and clear. And again, not just using job boards and sending in applications and thinking that's going to get you your remote role, but really the power and value of networking. I would say there's probably a 50% chance that your role could come from networking.
Awesome. Oh, thank you so much. And then Victoria says,
Yeah.
do you only help those in the US? I would
Nope.
say no because you're in Canada
No,
too.
no, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm Canadian and it's so funny. I do have a lot of Americans that reach out to me and I support a lot of Americans. But no, anywhere in the world. Um, And I
Awesome.
also saw a question here too that was really, or I guess a statement Neve was saying, I really think it's just completely oversaturated and that's why it's becoming so hard. So I would add to that and I guess challenge that and say, and this is kind of what I say to my clients, when you know how to position yourself in a really strong way, the competition is irrelevant. Just because there is, say, 200 or 300 or 400 applications, that doesn't mean those people are qualified or they have good applications, right? So again, when I go back to that unicorn application, within like my clients, within two applications, they're getting an interview, right? So that says something there of, okay, and again, it's this shift of like, you can, there's this, not to be too forward, but there's this victim mentality, like, oh, well, there's a recession or there's this, right? Well, great. Like I've been laid off. I had no money and I made it happen, right? And it's like, what mindset is going to empower you and support you? You can go into this, oh, recession, there's a lack of, oh, the competition. Like okay, so what can you do about it, right? Like, how can I stand out? How can I get creative? Instead of going to this victim mentality, but rather empowering yourself of, okay, instead of saying it's not working, say, well, how do I make it work? What can I do? Right.
Easy work.
And I think that's one thing that supported me was it was like, there was no plan, like, there's no plan B. This is happening and I'm riding it out. I don't care what I have to do, what happens. Like, you have no idea my willingness of like, okay, within reason, of course, but it was like, I would have done anything that it possibly required of me to land a remote job because that's how bad I wanted it. So when you get into this state of, if things aren't working, don't continue doing the same thing. Something's not working. So look at it and say, okay, where can I optimize here? Is there something I'm missing? Is there something I can improve on? So I would just encourage everybody and empower everybody to say, okay, well, how can I make this work? How can I look at this strategically? And how can I, support myself in making this happen?
Oh, I love that, and the mindset piece, and just like looking at it from a different perspective and not falling into the victim mentality is huge, because
Yeah.
I mean, we have to stand out. We have to figure ways. And sometimes a failure is good. I mean, no leader or, business owner or anybody has ever made strides, or human, without failing. So use the fail as a lesson and then get better from it, and just kind of see it more from that perspective is definitely important. Okay, Jen says introverted, so awkward. And then another person commented, that's me, I'm totally an introvert and can be socially awkward. What do
Yeah.
you have to say to all of our introverts out there?
Yeah. So I guess there's a difference. Let's differentiate between introverted and shy. I would say I'm more introverted. I get my energy by being alone, not by being around other people. After I'm around people for a long period of time, I need some like re energizing time by myself. And then there's shy where it's like, I don't want to talk to people. How I personally would overcome this is, how bad do you want a remote job and is it worth it, right? And again, you're not coming at it from this angle of like, hey, can you help me get a remote job? I think where a lot of the fear comes from is not knowing what to say or how to approach it, right? And because we don't learn it, right? And again, I just want to say too, like, no one ever teaches us how to land jobs, let alone remote jobs, right? Everybody is doing the best that they can with the knowledge and information that they have. So I just want to share that, as well as that I understand that, it can be a challenge for some people because they're trying to navigate this ambiguous, goal. And we were never taught that. And again, that's, I guess you could say, part of the work I do is to remove that and to create that clarity and certainty and path. So in terms of being an introvert, I would say, um, it's that perspective shift. I think it really comes down to that. How bad you want it, what you're willing to do. If you're willing to go outside of your comfort zone, I mean, it's not a comfortable process. If you want to stay comfortable, okay, maybe stay in the 9 to 5. But if you're willing to explore that discomfort and get out of there, get out of that discomfort. And with practice, you build confidence, right? So the more you practice something, the more you're building that confidence in yourself. So I would say it's practice and just knowing too with networking, you could reach out to 50 people. Not everyone's going to respond to you. You're not going to hit it off with everybody. That's okay. Everyone has these expectations. Like, if every single person, doesn't get back to me, it's somehow a reflection of me. And it's not. People are busy. They have lives. Maybe they just didn't have a chance to get back to you. Some people you'll hit it off with and some you won't. And that's fine. Right. And it's just continuing, I would say, just being consistent with it and not giving up.
Oh, love that advice. Thank you so much. And then we can probably take one more question until we bring Jordan on. And I'm super excited to connect you guys, because you guys are doing
Hi,
some awesome
Jordan.
work. You guys probably know each other.
We spoke
Um,
at a lot of similar events. Yeah.
oh, stop. Cool. Okay, we have like one other question. Hold on here. Let's see. I just had it and then it scrolled down. Okay, Nika says, do you think it's feasible to land a job as an account manager in tech sales, and with this living abroad life that everybody wants to live?
Yeah, absolutely. Oftentimes people ask me this question a lot, like, can I get a remote job doing this and this? It's almost like asking, what kind of job can I get if I want a 9 to 5, right? Like, well, there is a lot that you can do. But I mean, to bluntly answer your question, yes, absolutely. I think Jordan would probably agree as well. Yeah. Short answer, yes, absolutely. There are probably a lot more opportunities than you realize to go remote. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for all your questions, and that we're out of time, but I definitely want you guys to get her free gift. I've dropped it in the chat and I will do it again. And Kate, thank you so much for being with us. And you obviously know Jordan. I wanted to introduce you guys. This is normally what I do when I switch off the speakers. But I'm guessing you guys have worked together or maybe spoke at the same events.
Jordan, I don't think we've ever actually spoke, but we've spoken at a lot of events.
We haven't, but Kate's awesome, and everything that she said is probably true. I didn't listen to all of it, but at the tail end here, I was like, preach, girl, preach. So definitely listen to what Kate, and we also have a very similar story with Remote Year as well, and like getting involved in Remote Year. She's like OG with that, so
and Jordan's gonna have a lot of
chat.
Jordan's gonna have a lot of valuable. I'm very confident that what Jordan says, I'll be like, yes, nodding along.
Well, if we could please give a big thank you to Kate in the chat. Honestly, everything you shared was so awesome, from the mindset to the having a different perspective to the networking to the how to stand out. And yeah, you guys definitely need to get her free gift and then reach out to her if you guys need support, because it's totally possible. All right, Kate.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks,
See you
Shauna.
next time. Thank